My name is Dominique Mohammed. I'm 29 years old. I'm from Portland, Oregon. And this past year, I've faced and defeated one of the toughest battles that I've ever faced in my life. When I was 20 years old, I was diagnosed with Hodgkin's lymphoma stage 4. I'm gonna bring on fellow cancer survivors to show you guys not only that you can beat any cancer, but that you can beat your zombie, whatever that is in life.
Welcome to this episode of Beast vs. Zombie. I'm Cancer Survivor Dominique Mohammed. Today, we have on the show fellow Cancer Survivor Cheryl. Thank you for coming today.
Thank you for the invite.
Thank you for coming. She has an inspiring story on what she's been through. So let's get right into it.
Sounds good to me.
So how did you find out that you were diagnosed, that you had cancer?
Wow, that's an interesting story. So after seeing 12 urologists.
Oh, wow.
Yes, so the 12th urologist found my problem. 2013, I discovered I had a problem. My cancer was a urethral carcinoma, very rare. Okay. And so I was having a problem in 2013 with, feeling like I had the urine and then, bleeding. In 2013, I saw a urologist. 2014, nobody could determine my problem. 2017, in my 12th urologist, they gave me a diagnosis.
Okay.
Urethral carcinoma.
Mm-hmm.
And I had to have surgery.
Okay. And so when you were diagnosed, what stage was that at?
They didn't exactly have a stage, but on when I went to, in my travels, because I didn't just accept one diagnosis. So once I got the diagnosis, I went to Syracuse, to University Hospital. I had consults with Mayo Hospital in Cleveland, and I went to a hospital also in Maryland, and they're the ones who told me that it was a stage 3 carcinoma.
Okay.
It took a while for them to determine. Like I said, it's very rare.
So what kind of testing, or kind of go through the process of when you were trying to figure this out, right?
Yes.
And you have some symptoms and you're trying to understand,
Right.
like what was your thought process trying to figure this out, right? You said you visited all these places.
Yes.
And what kind of tests did they have to do in order to figure out what was going on with you?
Right. So in Atlanta here, we have a few urologists that are specialists, but none that are specialize in urethras for women.
Okay.
Very different from men.
Mm-hmm.
So I actually had to, when I go into a doctor, they do the usual test, give me a CT scan, and then they take a camera and put it through your urethra and they always want to go to the bladder. It's always bladder because it's so rare to have cancer in a urethra. A woman's urethra is 1.5 inches, 2 inches max.
Okay.
So it's not common to have blockage or problems with your urethra. So they would go straight, put the camera, go straight to the bladder, straight to for 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
And finally, I thought that was making my problem worse after the 5th or 6th urologist. And I had to put a stop to them using the camera.
Okay.
And just use imaging.
Mm-hmm.
And finally, here in Atlanta, at Piedmont, they found a carcinoma. They found a mass. And then at Emory, they did a biopsy and found that it was a. Now we're talking at in the 4th year now when they found that.
Right.
Yes,
That's a long time.
That's a long time, and by that time it was a full-blown carcinoma.
Right.
Yes. So since it's so rare, my research never stopped, and that's what I urge people to do. Don't just don't let it happen to you. Don't sit back and just let these things happen. Just research it. It never stopped. I have a niece, Wendy. she and I were and my husband went on the computer every day trying to research this thing. And what we found is only 2 urethral specialists in the United States. One in Syracuse, New York, another one was in California.
Okay.
And so when I went to Syracuse, because a carcinoma cancer, and I was told by Emory, you have to have a radical cystectomy. That's a removal of your bladder.
Okay.
And I didn't understand why. Why would you remove my bladder when the cancer's in the urethra? That's it sounds crazy, but that's not something that we connect because we're not doctors, right?
Right.
I have a bladder, I have a urethra. Why can't you just fix the urethra, right? It's like having if you had a wart on your finger, they don't take off your whole finger
Right.
or your hand.
Mm-hmm.
So I went to the specialist, the urethral specialist in Syracuse University Hospital, Syracuse, New York. It's one of the best things I ever did.
Okay.
They drew pictures for me. First, they took me into surgery so they could see it.
Mm-hmm.
And they had to put me out because you had to get through the urethra with the camera again. And by this time, it's fully blocked.
Okay.
And they determined that the mass, the tumor, was attached to the muscle. And then they explained to my husband and I that the brain controls when you urinate.
Mm-hmm.
It controls all your body, your brain.
Mm-hmm.
So because the mass took over the brain's job, it's attached to your urethra. Now you feel like you have to urinate all the time.
Oh, okay. I see.
Yes, interesting, right? So he said if he removed it, because I'm thinking you could just remove the thing. If you remove it, you have to take the entire urethra away, and then it's like putting a straw because you have nothing controlling.
You have no control.
Yes. And I thought that was it. They drew pictures for me. So this is after the diagnosis. One of the specialists that I went to confirm that I actually had cancer.
Right.
And I do recommend that for anyone who has cancer to get a confirmation.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's very interesting. And that's so crazy that it took them 3-4 years to determine and to help you. And it's crazy because we have so much technology in today's age.
Absolutely.
That there's no way they should not understand how to solve the problems.
Yes.
And in a lot of ways, like, we rely on the medical field in general to help us, right? Like, those are the professionals. Like, I'm not a doctor, you're not a doctor.
Right.
And we lean on them very heavily, through the whole process, even after you figured out what was going on with you, right? You lean on your doctor for a treatment plan, how to go about and execute the treatment, right?
Yes.
And get to where we are now.
Yes,
right?
Absolutely.
And so that's really hard. I know for me, some of the struggles I had, I live in Las Vegas, and the healthcare system is not the most advanced, I would say there.
Right.
It's not the top of the line, right? And so even I needed to get a bone marrow transplant, and I wasn't able, they don't have the capability to do a bone marrow transplant in the state of Nevada. Like, I would have to go to a completely different, and luckily, like, all my family is in Oregon. So I was able to that's probably where I would have done it anyway.
Right.
Because you need support. You're in the hospital for like a month.
Yeah.
You need a caretaker.
Yes,
Like, you can't do it by yourself, right?
Right.
And so, like, that was convenient anyway, but it's still crazy. Like I said, we have all this technology.
Yes.
And we aren't able to just simply find the problem and understand what is going on.
Or find a physician that can find the problem in the United States.
In the U.S.
And some people are leaving the United States, going out of the country. That wasn't an option for me, and I'm sure it wasn't an option for you to leave the United States and go out of the country to get it done. But you're right. We have all this technology. We have all of these physicians with high degrees, and some problems they can't find.
Right.
And mine was 0.01%.
That is, yeah.
Had the type of cancer I had.
And that's crazy. Even the last episode I did with a friend of mine, Ashley, she had what was called like a sarcoma. And it was like, again, it was like in her muscles, in her shoulder.
Mm-hmm.
And the doctors she was working with at the treatment plan that they had her on was not working. And the next suggestion for her was to get her arm and her shoulder amputated.
See,
And so listen to this. So then
crazy.
she was able to go. She DM'd like a renowned doctor on Instagram that specialized in the type of surgery. She did research, like you were saying.
Yes.
She did research and was able to find somebody to give her that. It was alternative surgery,
Yes.
or something like that,
Yes.
and it cured her, and she didn't have to get her arm amputated. He
Right.
was the only one that was willing to perform that surgery.
Yes.
And I guess it was like pretty complicated,
Yes.
and stuff like that. And so there was even a point when she was telling me, she was like, yeah, her family had to make a call. They had to make the call whether, like, it was very entangled in her muscle, and I guess there was a risk of her losing feeling.
Right.
And so, and her sister, she was like, yeah, my sister made the call to try to get it all out. It was like they could get it all out, and there was a risk of her losing her feeling, or they could do some of it, and
Yeah.
and her sister was like, no, she would
No.
want it all, and
Yes.
she had expressed that that's what she wanted, and her sister made the game time call, and it
Yes.
was, but that is crazy. Again, she had to get like all these opinions, do her own
Yes.
research,
Yes.
and really figure it out herself
Yes.
in order to
You do.
be
That's
cured.
what you have to do. So let me tell you something interesting. So during that research, I'm a retired military, so
Okay.
I was in the military for 26 years.
Okay, thank
so
you.
I went back. You're welcome. So I went back to my military medical records,
Mm-hmm.
and what did I see? Squamous metaplasia
Okay.
back to 1985
Mm-hmm.
that no one caught. It's in the record. No one mentioned it to me. You know, we're not doctors. We wouldn't know what that was if we read it. But if that squamous metaplasia can turn into a carcinoma, what prevented them from mentioning that
Right.
or trying to mitigate it at that time?
Exactly.
It's interesting. Way back to 1985.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so research is important. Just don't give up on yourself. Just don't accept any answers,
Right.
any answer, like, take off your whole shoulder, I did have to have a radical cystectomy because of the tumor was in my urethra.
Mm-hmm.
And that's okay. But somebody had to explain that to me first. You don't just do that
Mm-hmm.
without an explanation.
Right. Right. And
Yeah.
without the confidence that this is what I need to be doing
Exactly.
to fix the problem that I have.
Right. And for 3 of those 4 years, I was telling doctors, no, it's not my bladder.
Mm-hmm.
No one's listening. It's not the bladder. It's the urethra.
Mm-hmm.
But they had no expertise in the urethral area.
Right.
How are you a urologist? It's interesting. I'm not trying to knock them. I'm just telling the story. Yes.
No, yeah, exactly.
Mhm.
So how did you feel when you finally were able to figure out the problem and were, I guess, like diagnosed? How were you feeling at that time? How did you feel that you were able to figure out?
Well, I felt better knowing than not knowing.
Mm-hmm.
So not knowing created a lot of thought when you're by yourself. What is wrong with me? Am I going to die?
Mm-hmm.
Without the diagnosis, because you know something's wrong.
Right.
But once I got the diagnosis, this is the interesting part. When I got the diagnosis, my son Brandon and his wife, they're vegans. And so we went, I didn't do surgery right away.
Oh, okay.
Oh, no.
Mm-hmm.
We went on a strict Dr. Sebi
Mm-hmm.
type diet.
Mm-hmm.
So it's interesting how that turned out. I still had to have the surgery, but I was so healthy
Mm-hmm.
when I went in for the surgery.
Right.
So it ended up having surgery because the carcinoma blocked the urethra so much that I had, my bladder was distended, super distended. It almost burst.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So when I started having that type of pain, and I went in, they said your bladder's about to burst,
Mm.
and you need to have that surgery. But I was okay at that point. So,
Right.
I had prayed about it. I felt relief about it. I was healthy
Mm-hmm.
because with all the good food and vegetables and fruits I was eating,
Mm-hmm.
Brandon was actually cooking for me. And it was wonderful. So I went in for the surgery and came out of the surgery, and it was November, and cooked dinner for Thanksgiving for 40 people.
Yeah. Okay.
So
Yeah.
I was good. It was while I was going through the symptoms, though, that was the worst.
Mm.
Once it was done, I had a little, some problem. It's serious surgery. It's no joke. It's,
Mm-hmm.
whenever they cut into your flesh like that,
Mm-hmm.
you're going to have some issues.
Mm-hmm.
And I had issues for a couple of years, but I tell you, today I look back and go, wow. You got to keep going. You can't stop.
So how long have you been in remission or cured?
Since 2018, 6 years.
6 years.
Yes.
That's good.
Yes.
That's so cool.
Yes.
And so when you're going through this, how are your people? Like, what kind of support did you have?
Oh my goodness.
What were they thinking
Oh
when
my goodness. The
when you were
village.
like diagnosed?
Well, we didn't tell. My husband and I didn't tell many people. Our niece Wendy knew because she helped me do the research on it, and then Brandon was the only other one that we told. And the reason for that was that I have two sister-in-laws that experienced cancer, and I didn't want to. We had a sister-in-law that was diagnosed at the same time. My husband's sister at the same time I was diagnosed, and the family was, kind of feeling bad for her, and I didn't want to add any more bad feelings to their situation, so we didn't mention it to anyone. So once I did mention it, the support was incredible, absolutely incredible.
That's good.
Coming from everywhere, the nieces, the great nieces. I mean, my husband was there every day. The children, my children was there. I'm Brandon's stepmother.
Mm-hmm.
They were there every day. Brandon was taking me back and forth to the hospital when my husband was out of town. It was incredible.
Yeah.
The friends, the prayers, I tell you, the village. If you don't have one, get one.
You need that.
Yes, you need that.
I always tell people, without that, it would have been way different.
Yeah, yours was serious. Months in the hospital.
It would have been way different. Even during COVID, so I did 2 bone marrow transplants. One was more like pre-COVID, and then the other one was pretty much in the middle of
Oh
COVID.
my goodness.
So it was harder for my people to support me during COVID, right? Because of what they call a pandemic, right? And so, but the biggest trooper is my mom, and that really helped me get through everything. She went to all my appointments with me, helped me keep my schedule on track with
Yes.
all the doctors, helped ask more questions because I'm like a guy and like I'm not always
Yeah.
the most detail oriented,
Yeah.
right? And for me, I really just needed to know like the action items and what I needed to do to move forward.
Right.
That's what helped me. For her, she's more of like, well, what could happen if this happens? What could happen? Right. Those are her questions and
Yes.
her concerns and her worries. And it just helped make everything clearer
Yeah.
always that she asked more questions than I
Right.
did.
Yeah.
Right. And I just really trusted the doctors and was like just all in. Like I was very confident. I remember when I was first diagnosed, my dad asking me, how are you feeling? This is
Mhm.
crazy. You have
Right.
cancer. None of
Right.
us have ever dealt with this. I was 19 at the
Oh
time.
my goodness. So this wasn't a family thing? Is this something that you had? No one else?
Nobody else has
Oh
had
my
something
goodness.
like this.
Mhm.
And right, they don't tell you how you get cancer. And so yeah, it was just completely random, and my dad was asking me how I'm feeling, and I remember just being like, I don't know. I was young and pretty healthy. I was strong. I was fit. I was in college, just going to school.
Wow.
And I was like, I don't know what the deal is. When we first figured out, we didn't even believe it, right? Like, no way I have cancer. And
I know that feeling.
and 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 I was just like, I don't know what it is, but we just have to beat it,
Yes.
right? Like
Yes.
we just have to figure out
Right.
what we need to do and
Right.
just beat it. And
Right.
and throughout the whole process, for me, like it was a big deal for me to, and I always say this, to lead by example with my attitude, so that everybody else felt confident
Right.
in what was going on and how I was feeling, and I felt good. I was younger, so I think that helped with everything that I was going through. I was able to stay like very active,
Yeah.
and I played basketball a lot, and that kind of gave me like a sense of normalcy and like little wins, right? I
Right.
could go out and win a game and feel normal, even though I have this crazy cancer thing going on. So that helped me a lot. But
Right.
but the like you said, the village of support,
Yes.
because I know there is definitely people that don't have that, and that would be so tough to go through some of the stuff that we've gone through and not have the support.
Yes.
So
Yes.
I'm happy that
Yeah.
you're able to have that.
Oh yeah.
That's a blessing.
Yeah. And for other folks, the attitude of the physicians, choose your physicians wisely, because they don't all have bedside manner.
Mm-hmm.
And when you have cancer, the big
Mhm.
C word,
Mm-hmm.
you need some positivity.
Right.
Not just someone telling you you have bad cancer, you're going to die tomorrow, you know.
Right.
You need someone that's calm and is going to walk you through a process.
Right.
Yeah, and tell you the truth, but tell it to you not in a way, that's rough or dooming.
Right.
That part was interesting. We walked away from a few
Mm-hmm.
surgeons.
Okay.
Yes.
So what was the surgery process? What was that like? What finding a surgeon now that you figured out what's going on and you need to solve the problem? How did you find a surgeon that you felt comfortable with moving forward?
Well, because I had gone to Syracuse and they drew me those pictures, they're still in my head. I can still see them. It was a revolutionary for me, and so when I found a surgeon by telling them what they needed to do, and this was a choice out of the choices that I could have had, the surgical choices. This is the choice I chose, which was the radical cystectomy, because the other two doctors explained to me, young doctors explained to me, if I didn't have my bladder removed, I would have to cath it. It would be bacteria. It would be infections.
Mm-hmm.
So they walked me through a process. So that's how I found my surgeon.
Okay.
It was a surgeon that I had chosen first, and then I canceled my surgery, went to Syracuse, found out what should happen, came back and said, "This is what you need to do,"
Okay.
and then they did it. So it's an interesting surgery when they remove your bladder. It's called they give you an ileal conduit,
Okay.
and it's attached to your ureters, but back to your kidneys. So there's always a chance of still getting infections, but the chance is not as great as it was without removing the bladder or
Okay.
leaving the bladder, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I feel great. I think back on the days when I had problems,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't have those problems anymore.
Right.
I have to physically, I'm different,
Mm-hmm.
but that's okay too.
Mm-hmm.
I can still do the things I need to do. I'm
Mhm.
still here, thank God.
Right.
Right. So, yeah, so that's what I had to do. That's how I chose the physician,
Okay.
with the knowledge I got from other two young physicians at a university hospital.
Okay.
Mm.
That's interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so what was the recovery like? I know you touched on it a little bit
Yeah.
earlier, but how long did that process take for you to kind of get back to feeling more so closer to 100%?
Well, when I said I came out of surgery and then 2 weeks later I cooked a meal, perhaps I shouldn't have done that. And you have to, with the type of surgery I had, because my intestines was manipulated,
Mm-hmm.
I had to change the way I ate.
Mm-hmm.
I had to change the way I'm funny about cleaning baseboards in the house. I don't
Mhm.
like dust.
Mhm.
I had to change the way I bend. I had to change a lot of different things, but basically, and more importantly, the way I ate.
Mm-hmm.
Breads, meat,
Mm-hmm.
I had to change those things, and I didn't right away.
Okay.
So for 2 years, I was back and forth in the hospital in emergency.
Okay.
Not often, maybe once every 4 months or so for 2 years, because I didn't, my intestines hadn't healed enough to accept the food that, you used to eating a whole burger.
Right.
Well, I had to slow that down.
Okay.
I had to remove the bread out of my diet for a while until my intestines healed. It was all in the paperwork that they give you when you leave the surgery. No one actually explained it, and I really didn't read all the paperwork.
Okay,
So
yeah.
when I started having these issues and then ended up in emergency a few times, I was told, are you still eating, ask first, are you still eating meat, bread? Yes. Well, you need to slow down. And once I slowed down, the intestines healed, and now I have no problems with it.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's interesting. So, right, for me, I always asked and tried to get like dietitians and try to get understanding of
Yeah.
like what kind of diet, even like you thought initially, right? What you got with Brandon and you guys
Yeah.
went vegan.
I
on a
should have went back to that. Yes.
right? And so and the doctors would never tell me. They would always tell me eat a balanced diet. There was never very clear direction on what kind of diet, because that's one of the things, right? I'm trying to figure out things that I can do to control to not only help get myself in remission, but also keep this from coming back.
Right.
Right? Like during my cancer battle, I was in remission at one point for 3 years.
Yeah.
And then
wow.
it came back.
Wow.
Right? And so it's hard to understand what you don't know what causes this or anything. And so I always tried to do everything I could, research and figure out things that I could do that's in my control to help, put my odds in in better favor.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And diet always thought was a big deal.
Big deal.
And I've never gotten a very clear answer. At least from my physicians,
Yes.
right? I can go on YouTube and research
That's right.
and you can get a bunch of answers, and it's kind of hard to discern fact from opinion a lot of times.
Yes.
And so so when you originally you went vegan and then you had to switch up your diet after your surgery, like what else did you do with your diet, and how has that helped you? How do you feel about that?
So let me say this first. I shouldn't have switched back to my regular eating. I should have stayed vegan after the surgery. It would have been much better for me. But I thought, oh man, burger, steak, some barbecue ribs.
I get that. I love food.
I do too.
Last night I was eating ribeye, shrimp.
Oh, yes. I do too. I love food. So I should have gone back to the vegan diet, but I didn't because I love food so much. So after the episodes of going into the emergency room, it got so embarrassing. We were flying back from New York, my husband and I, and we had a big meal with my sister, my brother-in-law, and my brother and his wife. The night before, flew back that next day. That heaviness of pasta, and we did have some wine too. And on the plane, I got so ill. I tried to hold it, and as the plane was getting ready to land, I was running down the aisle. So after that point, I go, that's it. I'm not going to emergency anymore. I got back home, and my husband had taken me to emergency. I said, that's it. I'm done. I'm done with not paying attention to what I eat or eating too much. And sometimes now I don't eat until, no breakfast, no lunch. I find myself 3 o'clock having a meal. And at that point, you can eat too much. But I know the effect it could have. Although my intestines are healed now, the pressure I can feel more than the average person.
Okay.
Because they were manipulated. So, yes, I can eat regular food. It's the amount of food.
Okay.
Like last night, I wanted 3 pieces of bread. I asked for 1.
Okay. I get that.
Half. It was a half. And I kept looking at that tray. So, I love bread. I love
bread.
butter. I love it. But so you just in moderation, you
Yeah.
know, in moderation, and slow it down. I tried not to eat as fast. When I came out of surgery, I think I was eating everything in sight and
Hmm.
eating it fast. I was happy to be alive.
I feel you.
Was
I
happy to
feel
be
that.
alive.
Even for me these days, like there was points when it was tough to get out of bed.
Yeah,
And so
yeah,
whenever I wake up, I kind of jump out of bed. I'm like
yeah.
super excited for a
Yes,
lot of little things. I take a
yes,
lot of little
yes.
things,
Thank God. Right. Wow.
right? We're blessed.
Yes, absolutely.
And so how did you said you pray a lot?
Yes.
How did right your faith tie into all of this
Yeah.
with your whole situation and during before did that change at all?
Okay, Don, this is an interesting story. I don't think I shared it with too many people. I Before my diagnosis back in 2013, 14, 15, I knew I had a problem. Low energy, bleeding, going to the bathroom 11 times at night. And I would feel I can be driving and I can see my funeral. I know it sounds strange, but when we let the negativity in, this is what happens. Uh, and that happened for years. Once I got my diagnosis, and I have friends that pray for me every day, family every day. The church, our mega church, they praying, the pastor's praying over us. All of that negative feeling left.
Mm-hmm.
It just disappeared because that's not of God.
Mm-hmm.
The fear is not of God.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't fear death, but I saw it. It was the strangest thing ever.
Mm-hmm.
But the diagnosis, once I found out what it was, and I told a few people, the prayers started, the feeling went away.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't have any more feelings of doom and like one nurse told me, one doctor, urologist told me in Stockbridge. She said, "You've got a problem. We're not going to see you anymore. You probably will only live a few years." I was there by myself. I thought that was odd.
Right.
That's why I say choose your physicians because you don't want to hear that.
Right.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
And I was there by myself, 60 miles from home. It didn't
Mm-hmm.
make any sense. But that's okay. My praying friends and my praying family, no problem. I don't know if you know the Jordans, Montel and Chris Jordan.
Okay. Yep.
This is how we do it. He has his own
Mm-hmm.
church. They're very good friends of ours. She set up a prayer, not an email. What do you call it?
Like a group.
Group me. Prayer group me. Unbelievable.
Okay.
This was unbelievable. We were in a small group together. Everybody's praying,
Mm-hmm.
laying hands on you, praying. No fear at all after that point. No fear going into surgery with all the research I had done and all the prayer with the village. No problem at all. Positive since then. No
Right.
doom and gloom at all.
That's good.
None.
I love that. And that goes back to the support. You need the
It goes
support
back to the support
and the people
and the people.
and the energy that they
Yes.
bring.
Yes.
You need that cuz
Yes.
and I say this when you're going through the cancer, it's a battle.
Yes.
Right? They literally call it. You're going through a battle.
Have you seen that commercial?
I haven't.
So it's a commercial from one of the cancer hospitals in Georgia.
Mm-hmm.
It says, so you get a notice that you have cancer and your whole world is, I go, no, that's not what's supposed to happen.
Right.
You know, you get a notice that you have cancer and you do something about it. You don't just let your rock your whole world
It
and
doesn't-
you're over, you're going to die tomorrow. Yeah.
Right.
It's crazy.
Right, but it's a battle.
It is.
And even if you tell people that have never had cancer, right, it sounds like crazy.
It
Like
sounds
when
crazy,
people
yes.
hear cancer, they immediately relate it to people dying.
Yes.
So it's war.
It's war.
Right?
Uh-huh.
And in that circumstance, in that journey, in that battle, you need everything you can. You need all the energy, all the advantage you can on your side, right? And that energy is a big part of it, right?
May I say this one? It's interesting how you put that, the war.
Mm-hmm.
If Jesus is not at the front of that war, if he's not the leader of that army,
Mm-hmm.
you're in trouble.
Right.
because your I had to we have to draw from the best source, and that's God,
Mm-hmm.
right? So, and that's why the prayer meant everything. It took away all of that, negativity that was seeking into my life, seeping into
Mm-hmm.
my life. It just took it away, just
Mm-hmm.
like that. Boop, gone. After the diagnosis, now I know I have cancer, and I feel better than I did before I knew I had cancer.
Mm-hmm.
And only God can do that.
Only God
Only God can do that.
could do that. I know.
Yeah.
I'm a big Kobe Bryant fan,
Yes.
and he says this isn't word for word, but he says like God is real, and he was like God is real because, and you'll know when you're working on and you're working on something and right and you're trying to carry the cross
That's right.
and you can't get, but then he carries it for
For
you.
you, the
You
peace
know,
comes. That's right.
right. And
That's right.
right, and it's just like you said. It's just there's stuff that happens, and it you could almost call it a miracle,
Yes.
right?
Absolutely.
Like one of my favorite quotes is, "When the attitude is right, the facts don't count."
That's right. That's right.
Right,
That's right.
and
That's
it's
good.
really just like having faith and a belief and an understanding that everything happens for a reason,
Mm-hmm.
and life is, I really believe life is happening for you,
That's right.
right? And if you understand the way you're thinking, the way you're going about it, I'm a very like positive and optimistic
right.
person,
Right.
not only by choice, right? Obviously, I've gone through
Yes.
some different things than
Oh,
a
yeah.
lot. I have a
Oh,
little
yeah.
bit different perspective
Mm-hmm.
than I would say a lot of people,
Right.
and that it makes such a big difference.
Mm-hmm.
But and you don't know it unless you do that,
That's right.
unless you act on that,
Right.
unless you stay consistent thinking like
That's
that.
right.
Or thinking like, right, not everybody believes necessarily in God. They have other gods, right? But like they have faith and belief in something bigger. There's something bigger than themselves.
Right. Right.
And that's just really a big deal. And even for me, when I can't say I was very well, I would say like heavy into God or into my faith
Right.
going into when I was diagnosed, right? I was younger. I always grew up, my dad and I would pray before we go to sleep,
Right.
and sometimes before meals. But as I went through the cancer battle, and I my relationship with God got better.
Yeah.
Is what I
Absolutely.
would say.
Yes.
It got better.
Absolutely.
And I don't and ever since has been better. I have a girlfriend now, and she actually helps me with my relationship with God as well.
Good for you.
And so that's like a cool, and that's not by
Yes.
accident either.
That's right.
You know what I'm
God
saying?
is a purposeful God.
That's not by accident
right.
either. And so
That's right.
that's really cool, and it's just really cool to see and understand that
Yeah.
plays a part in your belief and helping you get through all
Oh,
of this.
absolutely. I remember thinking all the things I did when I was your age, not knowing or having a relationship with God. Why would he take me out now? He
Mhm.
wouldn't, right?
Mhm.
He's a purposeful God. Why would he take me out now? I kept
Mhm.
thinking that. Felt better and better every day. Just my spirit came alive. Uh, Not just my body, but my spirit,
Mhm.
He wouldn't take me out now. I mean, I did everything possible wrong when I was your age,
Right.
and I'm still here.
Mm-hmm.
So,
And
Mhm.
that was part of it for me too. Is I
Yeah.
reflected,
yeah.
because when you get a cancer diagnosis, you start asking why.
Yes, absolutely.
Like why?
And you start reflecting
And
back.
you start reflecting back on periods in your life
Yes.
and what you were doing in those periods. And for me, I'm always thinking about what was I thinking?
Yeah.
What was I thinking about? And how was I going about that? Especially as I got older and I understood
Yeah.
how powerful it is to think a certain way.
Yeah.
And I would always go back to when I was younger. I had a really good childhood, right?
Right.
And so I always reflect on what I was doing. How was I thinking as a child,
Yes.
right? Because there's all this other distractions that weren't in my life yet,
Yeah.
right? So it's like more of like a pure time of my life. So I always reflect on that time
Yeah.
because I was younger. I was just living life. You all I remember is having fun, right?
Yes,
I was just
yes.
a little kid. And so during my cancer battle, I reflected a lot, and and it always came back to, well, I also every night was like daydreaming, but pretty much
Yeah.
that was like my
Yeah.
relationship with God.
Yes.
Right? I just didn't understand it when I was
Yes.
younger,
Yeah.
but I understood when you're younger, you just understand what you want, right?
Yes.
And your relationship with God is more so just like in your head. You might not even understand you have that relationship.
Yeah, because it's in your head, not in your
It's
heart.
just in your
Yes,
head,
yes,
and
just in your head.
and you don't understand. And then
Yeah.
when I was younger, we didn't go to church.
We didn't either.
We didn't go to
we
church
did not either.
or nothing like
Yes.
that. I just knew God is real.
Yeah.
I prayed to God, and as I've gotten older, my prayers have changed. Right,
Right,
I
right.
speak to Him differently,
Yes.
and a little in more of a purposeful
It's a
way.
relationship. Yes.
Right.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And so that's been cool for me
Yes.
through this experience.
And that's the main part of the village.
Mm-hmm.
God is the main part. He is the leader of the army that's fighting the battlefield.
Right.
So with him being the lead, I mean, it can't be anything but good.
Yeah.
Before the diagnosis was a little strange. After the diagnosis, it was fine. Now I know. Let's do something about it.
Let's do something
Let's
about
do
it.
something
And that's how I
about it.
felt.
Yeah.
I always tell people my favorite quote. I have to get this tattooed. Is I love this quote. Is life is better than you can imagine.
That's right. Absolutely.
And right. And like I said earlier, life is happening for you. And
Yes.
it's hard. It's hard to explain to people that, because you set expectations on your life,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
And you make plans and you expect it to go a certain way.
Yeah, and then reality
And
hits.
the reality is
Mhm.
you don't know the future.
That's right.
You don't know what you don't know.
That's right.
And you could be making plans for something that's not really in your best
That's
interest because you think something, but you're not God.
That's right.
Right? And so it's always just interesting. And like I said, life is better than you can imagine. I always just keep room to adjust, right?
Yes,
Like
yeah.
for me in my life, I always have like a direction I'm going, and those plans are always subject to be adjustable,
Yes.
right? Because again, I don't know what
You
I
don't know
don't
which
know.
way God is leading you at that time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And yeah, it could just get confusing, and like I don't know everything, and it's not my job
That's
to know
right.
everything.
That's right.
Right?
That's right. What a relief, right?
Exactly. And
Exactly,
and to
yeah.
just let life happen to you,
Yes.
you know, and let the things
in a
come
different
to you.
way. So don't let life happen, because if you and I and other cancer survivors had let life happen to us,
Mhm.
we wouldn't be still around to tell the story, because we wouldn't have done anything about it.
Mhm.
So when I'm moving in any direction, if I don't have peace
Mhm.
moving in that direction, like I had no peace before the diagnosis,
Mhm.
okay? God is not in the picture where there's no peace.
Mhm.
When you have that peace, you know he's in the room with you.
Mhm.
So you don't just let things happen to you. I had this conversation with my oldest sister. Don't just let life happen to you. Do something about it. We couldn't do anything about the type of cancer that you had or I had. It's not like it was visible on our face or something like that. It was hidden. We didn't know it was coming. It came. But once it did, we did something about it. We didn't just sit back and go, oh, woe is me.
Right.
I just wanted to say that, because I don't want the whoever's listening to the podcast think you just let. No, you
Right.
do something about it. And if you have no peace moving in that direction, doing something about it, change directions.
Right. Yeah, I get that. I think
Yeah.
it's more like letting life happen for
you. There you go.
That's the word.
What, yeah, you said that earlier.
Right.
Yes.
And so, and I believe in what you said, right? Like the cure to fear is action.
That's right. That's right.
And you gotta attack it and really go
Attack it. That's right. And keep attacking it.
And I talk on I do an Instagram live every Friday, and I talk about going all in to the
Yes.
things that you're doing.
Yes.
And how important it is to be all in and really be your best self
That's right.
in the things you do. And I talk about, like, if I'm not able to be all in or my best self
Mm-hmm.
in the things that I'm doing, then I don't do it at all, because it's not like it's not really, I'm not focused, I'm not my best self. But then if you start doing too many things, then you can never be your best self, opposed to if you have like a 1, 2, maybe 3 focuses that you have going on in your life, right? I'm a big believer on that. Not like overextending yourself.
That's right. Yeah.
So that you're not doing too much.
Busy work. Yeah.
And you're able to be your best self in the things that you want to be, like having priorities. Right. I think is very important.
Right.
And being able to go all in, and really giving something your all, I think is very foreign for a lot of people. It's hard because you can do more than you think you can do.
Absolutely.
You can be more, you can go harder, you can work harder.
That's right.
Than you think, or where your limit is at this point right now. And I think it's a big deal for people to understand how to push themselves to become better, to push themselves to be comfortable being uncomfortable.
That's right.
And that's something that really sticks with me. That's how I was raised, to work extremely hard to get the things that I wanted.
No matter what you do.
Right.
Work hard at it. And keep working hard at it. But like, you also don't fill your life full of stuff that you finish nothing.
Right. Always finish.
Always finish.
No matter what.
Finish and then move to the next.
Man, I have a story about this.
Okay.
When I was a little kid, I was playing video games with my dad, and he was whooping my butt. He wouldn't always win, but this specifically time, like, we're playing like the football video game, we're playing Madden, and he's just blowing me out. And this will always stick with me for my whole life. And I wanted to quit the game. I was done. I was like, probably, I think I was crying. Yeah. I don't know how old I was. I was like a little kid. I was probably like crying, and I wanted to quit the game. And he was like, "No, you can't quit the game." And he explained it to me. He explained it. He said, "When you were winning, I didn't quit the game, right?
That's right.
We played the whole game." And so he made me sit there and play the whole game to the end, and I lost or whatever. I felt bad about myself or whatever, but it really stood with me on just not quitting, and it stuck with me. I don't quit things.
Don't quit.
I don't quit anything, even if I'm losing or even if it sucks. Right, like I said, I'm all in. If I'm doing something, I'm all in. So I'm doing it to finish and to completion.
That's right.
And winners never quit, and quitters never win.
That's right.
That's all these little sayings. Right, it's like cliche stuff when you're a little kid.
But quitters never win. Think about that. Just let it sink in.
Yeah,
you don't win.
Right, or even like Jordan.
Get to the end of the story.
Jordan always says, "I never lost a game. I just ran out of time." So I'm a very competitive person. Anybody that knows me, I'm extremely competitive. Anything I'm doing, if we're playing Uno, I'm trying to win. I'm trying to win the whole game.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? If we're going, whatever we're doing, I'm always trying to find a way to compete and trying to like gamify or make it fun.
Yeah.
And that's just kind of naturally who I am. And that's fun for me.
Yeah.
And some people,
it challenges you.
It challenges me.
Yeah.
Because sometimes I'll be in situations where I am not the favorite to win, right? But I'm going all in. I'm trying my hardest to win.
That's right.
Right. And then there's other times when I have experience. I've done this before. I know I'm gonna win. Right. And I just love that whole process and the challenge, wherever that is, whether that's at work, in my schooling, with your friends and family.
That's
all of that. I believe in winning at life.
Right.
I'm trying to win the day, right? I'm trying to get up and win the day. I'm trying to get up early.
And that's good. That makes you get up.
Right.
You got a full day. What are you going to do for the whole day? Get up.
Yeah, I really get excited. I did an Instagram live last night, and it was on living life to the fullest.
Good.
It was on living life to the fullest. And just doing new things. When was the last time you did something new for the first time?
Right.
That's one of my favorite
Oh,
quotes
that's good.
too.
I like that.
Right? And people don't do new things. They do the same cycle over and over.
And over again.
And it becomes normal because it becomes a habit. And it's easy to just be comfortable and do the same, especially if you have like a high paying job.
That's right.
And everything is paid for. You're not surviving
right.
at that point,
Yeah.
right? And it can be easy to just get stuck in kind of a rut. And that's not, in my opinion, really living, right? Like really living is experiencing new stuff, seeing new places, new people.
Do something you've never done.
That you've never done before.
Never done.
Expanding your mind, like actually learning.
Yes.
Every year, my good friend Marcel and I, we take a trip out of the country. We go to a new country, usually that we've never been to before, and we go explore. What we've really been doing is following my guy Nigel. He's a Nigel Williams Goss. He's a pro. He's a pro basketball player, and he plays in the EuroLeague in Europe. And so he's one of our best friends. And so we go and follow him and go to some of his games. And really, he's given us the opportunity to go travel abroad and stuff like that. And so that's been something that's like really opened my mind. And my uncle, well, he's not my uncle, but my old basketball coach, his dad, always encouraged me to travel out of the country and to see the world.
Good for you, yes.
And to really give me an understanding of people. And really, like, if you don't get out of the country and you just stay in the US, like, you don't really know anything. There's a whole world of people just like you and I that have a heart, have blood pumping, have a brain, right? And we all look similar. And they're all have all different perspectives and are thinking different ways and have grown up in different cultures and have a completely different understanding of how life works.
Yes.
And if you don't get out, then you're just in your own bubble.
Right. And you don't know how life really works because it's just 2 feet from your face. And that's all you see.
Right.
Yeah. You have to, like you said, you have to get uncomfortable to get comfortable. Funny story about that when you were saying that you have to do things that you've never done before. I was asked to serve on a board of directors for a ministry as a secretary. I went, secretary? I've never done secretary work in my life.
Okay, yeah.
But I did it.
Uh-huh.
It's not my thing, but it's interesting. It's made me very uncomfortable because I've never done it. So I just did it. And when I hit, I guess I was 62 or something, I went back to school for a master's.
Okay,
for
that's
something
wonderful.
that I've never done before. So you just do it. And I had to push myself now because I had to tell myself, don't quit. You know, because there's plenty of times I just didn't want to open that computer and log in.
Right.
Just let me sleep another hour. But you have to do it.
Yeah.
Just do it.
That's good.
Yeah, just do it.
I love
like
doing
your
new
perspective.
things.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, I
Thank
like
you.
your perspective.
I
That's
love
good.
doing new things because, like I said, expand. Even like at work recently, my boss always challenges me to do new things that I've never done before, and he trusts me, right? So he trusts me. He trusts me to finish things because I'm a person.
That's right.
I'm big on doing what you said you were gonna do.
Yes.
Right.
That's good.
Like I believe when you're thinking of things and you're saying them and you're doing them, that's like a full cycle of like manifestation, right? Like everything is done twice. Like it's in your head and then it happens in real life.
That's right.
Right. And so I'm just big on just simply doing what you say you're gonna do. And if you can't do it, then say no, right? Not like that's back to the point where not overloading or overextending yourself.
Stop in the middle.
Right. And I did a whole live on this on how it makes you a trustworthy person and a respectable person. And, you know, it's also a part of the relationship you have with yourself is keeping the promises you make with yourself. And really, honestly, if you don't, then you're kind of just lying to yourself and you're just a liar. Yeah. And that's how I feel about that. Yeah. And it's really important to be honest with yourself and be realistic so that you can achieve things and really you can measure and quantify and assess yourself
It's rewarding to see it manifest
to get
from your thoughts.
the things that you want to get. Yeah.
When you see your thoughts manifest into something tangible, it's rewarding for you, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah. Good for you as a young person. Good for you.
Thank you.
You're very excited about this. I can tell. Good for you.
I love your story, man. I love this.
Yeah.
So, is there any other stories that really made an impact on you during your journey with cancer that you would like to share with us?
Well, I guess that would
before
be
we
the final would be know your friends. The ones when you're down, the real ones show up.
I agree.
And they
with that.
show up big.
Right.
Those are your real friends.
Those are your friends.
And that was, I mean, that's a lifelong thing,
Yes.
you know. And you could take it with you to the grave
Yes.
with a smile on your face because you've got these people that just stood by you no matter what. Yeah, that's the end of that story.
Yeah.
And it's a story that continues because they still there. They're still praying for me. They're still praying with me.
Right.
You know, they still have faith that God has a purpose for my life.
Yeah.
And that positivity right there, you need it in your life, and I need it in my life.
I think that's big. I know for me, I always say it was a blessing.
Yeah.
I got cancer because I knew who was rocking with me.
Yeah.
I knew who was and I knew who wasn't.
Yes.
And it was all laid, it was all aired out. It was all exposed.
Yeah.
I was at some of the toughest points in my life.
Yeah.
I know who rocks with me and who doesn't.
Yeah.
And I love that.
Yeah, that's good.
It makes it clear.
Yes, it makes it clear. It makes it clear. You should meet. I'm listening to you and your story and your excitement about, you know, your thoughts manifesting into something and always getting up and doing something with your life, finishing the race. I would love for you to meet our niece, Wendy. Oh, my goodness. She's a young woman. When I say young, younger than me. But although we're seniors, she's in our lives. What do you need? How could I do this for you? And she finishes it. She doesn't start something and then disappear. No matter where she goes, she finishes it. She walks every senior member, we have a lot in our family, she walks them through their life. Whether it's paperwork, going to the grocery store, or helping you make your bed. She cleaned our house when I was ill. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's the type of person. It sounds like the same person that you are. Do something. Get the energy. Help people. Be around people. Be the village.
And you know, if you ask her to do, and she says she's gonna do something, she's gonna do it.
Oh, and when she does it, it's done better than anybody else could do it.
She gonna do it good.
Oh, she does it well. Yes.
All right,
yes.
cool. Well, that's all we got. That's all we have on this episode of Beast vs. Zombie. Thank you for coming on and sharing your story.
Thank you for the invite. This was wonderful.
This was so fun.
Yes.
I hope that everybody can see this. Cheryl and I, we're just normal people dealing with challenges in life just like you guys are. And the goal is for you to understand that if we can overcome these types of challenges, battling cancer and navigating all of that, you can overcome anything in your life. You can achieve anything that you want to achieve. So if you haven't already, follow the podcast, Beast vs. Zombie. Follow us on Facebook, on Instagram, on YouTube. You can subscribe, comment anything below that you would like to see in any of these videos. And if you're a fellow cancer survivor, reach out and we can have you on the show. So thank you for listening and have a good day, guys. Be a beast.